we've been doing with the Google App Engine for Valio. I had to choose among several applications we've been developing, either in Python or Java, and I finally made my mind on presenting you Valio Market. So, as a reminder of what was said in this morning keynote, Valio went Google 2 years ago, and by that time they needed some more application like an enterprise directory, which my former and current colleagues in the back made for them. And then they chose to go they chose Android for the mobility because it's out of the box integrated with Google Apps. And when I joined the team 9 months ago, they started to have new needs, like a mobile version of this enterprise directory. So we made them their first Android app, and during the development phase, I had to send each new version to 2 managers at Valio for them to test and validate. And that was done via email attachments. So only 2 people were fine, but then came the pilot phase with 100 testers. And as you can imagine, this was definitely not the same managing those 100 emails. And I don't even speak about going to production with more than 2,000 users. So we had to come up with an idea for deploying these applications. And since using a public market like Android market was out of the question, we imagined Valio Market with its deployment workflow, which I simplified for you in this slide. So basically, you have between the development phase and the actual production release, you have 2 main phases. The first one is when managers at Valio test and decide if new features just fit their expectations. And once they give the go, that would be the second phase, Valio Market sends the new version to testers. And after a while, if those testers didn't find any blocking issue, Valio Market sends the new application to final users. So as you can see, this is still done using emails, which is definitely not that sexy. So what we're working on now is using cloud-to-device messaging so that Valio Market could directly notify the Android application of a new update, and we'll finally get rid of those ugly emails. So now some of you may be wondering how that can be compared to a market, and the answer to that is that it's still being developed, and we hope to see it become an actual market as soon as possible. But for now, what we're using Valio for is collecting crash logs, Android crash logs. So basically, when the Android app crashes, it sends the Android version, the Android app version, and of course the crash tag trace back to Valio Market. We also use it for some usage statistics, of which I believe you will see some screenshots a bit later, and for of course for release deployments. So what's under the hood of that awesome app? For the client side, we used GUID 2.04, and I'm currently migrating it to GUID 2.1, using the presentation widgets and the MVP framework, which is really, really well done. And concerning the Google App Engine part, I try to ensure that it runs on the latest version of the SDK, so that we can use as many available features as possible. And as you can see, we use a lot of them. Not all of them, but almost all. And we also use some data APIs, but I think I will tell you this a bit more. So the first service we use is the user service. If you use Google Apps accounts or Google accounts to authenticate, you can use it as it is. In other words, in only 3 lines of code, you can get a user object with its email. Or you could imagine a more complex access right management, just like we did. So for instance, our users get access to only certain part of Valio market, depending on their respective role. Next service is the mail service. We use it to send new release to users, testers, and managers, and we also use it to send crossloads to developers. As you might know, your App Engine application can actually receive emails, and we typically use this for go, no-go instructions. In other words, when a manager receives a new release email, he just has to reply to that email to let Valio market know of his decision to put it in pilot phase or not. And the manager can actually do exactly the same thing using Gtalk, since we've implemented the same feature using XMPP service. And I think we'll be implementing some more new cool features like getting quick stats using Gtalk through the XMPP service. Okay, so Memcache, that's my favorite. If I had to summarize it in one sentence, that would be, don't do twice the same thing. In our case, we do some heavy queries to get statistics. That means we have to fetch data out from the data store, then process them, and then send them back to the client. Now imagine a user makes the exact same query for statistics. Would you process the data all again, or are you gonna use the same result? Well, the answer to this is pretty obvious. And that's so easy to use that would be a shame not to do it. In only 2 lines of code, you get a Memcache instance, and even better, you put it in your own singleton, MC, in my sample, and you can call it anywhere from your code and put or get data from the Memcache in only 1 line of code. So I do recommend using it. Task queues, another great service, and actually I think there are some best practices in the Google App Engine documentation where you can see how to use task queues in combination with Memcache to really improve your response times. Task queues, you should use it to do some parallel work or to chunk heavy work in small units. So imagine the client makes a query which involves a lot of backend processing. You could just enqueue 1 or more tasks and just send some minute data back to the client and let the task queues do the job. That's typically what we do when we export data to a Google spreadsheet. Finally, the blob store. For now, our Android packages doesn't weigh more than 100K. So we just store them in the data store as blobs, since the limit is for a blob in the data store is of 1 meg. But when comes the time to actually serve the files, we have to fetch them out from the data store, and this is definitely not that efficient. So we wanted to start using the blob store, and when we first tried, we faced a small issue. That was that it needs enabling billing, and as you might know, I'm working for Valio. So enabling billing means a Google checkout account with an associated credit card. So for individuals, that's just fine. For a company, that can become an issue. So the solution was to start using Google App Engine for Business, which enabled all services and also gave us access to Google App Engine support. Just a word about APIs. So, as mentioned, we use document-list APIs and the spreadsheet API to export some data to a Google spreadsheet, and we also use the width wrapper of the visualization API to display some charts like those ones. And I think a demo is better than just words. So, well, you know, last week in Munich, I told people I couldn't do this demo because of some confidential data I couldn't show, and well, I took some time to make you a demo version, and
and then his friend did his presentation too long so that he didn't have any time left. I was just saying, you did the demo for us and my presentation ran on a bit, but I appreciate you doing it for us.
So, no demo. Too bad. Yeah. I can? Okay, didn't understand. So
if everybody's going to go okay, I have the next talk, so I'm going to let us run a little bit longer, 5 minutes to see the demo. Okay?
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks.
So have a look at it's my console as a developer where I see logs. Basically, it's the date when the crash happened, the phone model, the Android version, and of course the stack trace, which helps me see where the problem comes from. And I also do some stats on those stack traces to know, for example, which Android version it happened on. And for example, just for fun, because it's not related, on which phone model it happened the most. I think usage statistics are a bit more interesting. So, for example, we can see that we have quite a lot of Nexus ones, like Valio. We have some more milestones, but we do have a lot of HTC desires. About Android versions, for example, we have a lot of Android 2.1 and some 2.2, and very few of the other versions. And the most interesting is to see where the application is the most used. And I don't know, if you check at Czech Republic, well, not so bad. Germany, yeah, just 1,000 more. And France, well, they cheated actually because all pilot testers are in France, so they use the application a lot. Well, I think I'm done, and thank you, Simon, for giving me some more time. If you have some questions, if you have some advice, either technical or functional, or if you just want to talk, so feel free to drop by. Thank you.